The Peter principle states that if a person is competent at their job, they will get promoted until that person then becomes incompetent at their own new role. They then end up remaining stuck at that final level for the rest of their career. Therefore, in time, every post in a system tends to be occupied by a person who is incompetent for that set of responsibilities. The theory was first recognized by a Canadian educator, Dr. Lawrence J. Peter. According to him, in any corporate structure, employees tend to rise to ranks where they are not competent. If an individual works for a company that practices top-down management, like most of them do, then he or she is most likely to get promoted until he or she gets to one rung or one level above their competence. The educator referred to this level as the final placement. This is the level where they stop being exceptional at their own work. A lot of the entry jobs require technical expertise or some kind of a special skill. The Peter principle occurs mostly in these technical industries where skilled employees are naturally promoted to managerial roles. It happens despite the fact that the competence of such workers is based on their technical prowess rather than their ability to manage or lead. The best example that I can come up with right now is from the famous television series, The Office. In the show, a supposedly good salesman by the name of Michael Scott ends up getting promoted to the position of a manager where he performs terribly. Though that is just a series, one can imagine this sort of a sequence happening in real life too. The review of the performance of a salesman or a saleswoman would definitely be done through the review of their sales. But what happens when they end up getting promoted to the level of a manager? The same can be applied to the environments of academics as well as other places too. What happens when a teacher who is exceptional at her job ends up getting promoted to a designation of the head of the department? Does she axiomatically get to be good at her new roles? Or does she end up performing poorly because she is a better teacher than a manager? There are several ways that Dr. Lawrence suggested to avoid the Peter principle, one of them being demotion. The demotion policy that he suggested was one that did not carry the stigma of failure. Suppose an employee has been promoted to a role that he or she is not skilled enough to take on. In such a situation, the company manager can bring back the employee to their initial position. However, the person who made the poor decision of promoting the employee should be the one to take the responsibility. Another way that he suggested was of a higher pay rather than a promotion. In that way, the employee gets to keep their role with the perks and the benefits that comes along with an increased payout. Another way that Dr. Peter suggested was to get rid of incompetent employees without firing them. In other words, a CEO can reassign the incompetent workers to another position, which comes with a longer title but fewer responsibilities. The Canadian educator called this practice a lateral arabesque. In such a way, the promoted worker will not know that he's been fired from the role that he had been promoted to. There could be many more ways that this problem could be handled, but the key takeaway here would be that the Peter principle is an ever-present phenomenon that takes place across many industries and many systems, and it constricts the efficiency of that particular system. In simple terms, the higher the hierarchy ladder an individual climbs, the more likely he or she is to fail in their new position.